Okay, good morning. This is, as they say, the rest of the story. I'm going to try to end my little segment on my marriage today. But anyway, I ended last time with where I had to go to the psych hospital. So I ended up going there by ambulance. I had two young attendants that were with me, and I'll tell you, they were just the sweetest kids ever. We talked all the way to Madison. This ended up being like maybe 10, 11 at night. We ended up chatting all the way there, and then once we got in and they did what they had to do, the young guy ended up coming by me, got on his knees, and sat in front of me and just told me that it was a pleasure meeting me. And then he asked if he could have a hug, and I gave him a hug, and he said he wishes nothing but the best for me. So that was a really cool experience. Okay, so then I get checked into the hospital, not knowing what to expect. All I know is they asked me a few questions, asked me why I was there, blah, blah, blah. I went through the same thing. And it was late at night, like I said, so they just brought me to a room after they checked me in. And I wasn't scared. I knew I was right where I needed to be. You shared a room with one person, although at that time for me, there was nobody in the room. It was kind of interesting. They had, like, their bathroom door was padded. It's not like a regular door. It was an actual padded door. Apparently people must bang their heads on their doors and do something, lock themselves in. I don't know. But it was a padded door. And then for me, they put these big orange stickers outside my room because I'm a cancer patient. I don't know. It was just weird seeing that, like, like a hazard warning or whatever. But anyway, I didn't know what to expect from there because, all I ever knew about them was what happened to my mom. And what happened to my mom was never good. She never got any better. She always got worse. So for me, I had no idea what to expect. But for me, it ended up being exactly what I needed at that point in my life. And remind you, this is just a few years ago, 4, 5 maybe. But anyway, they have a policy while you're in there. It seems about, like, I'd say every 30 minutes, someone comes to talk to you, no matter where you are in the place. They have a craft room. They have a reading room. They have like a TV room. It actually was very nice, very clean. It was filled with people, sadly. But they have someone come talk to you no matter where you are about every 30 minutes. And it's always usually somebody different. And then you see the actual psychiatrist, I think, the doctor. I think it was once a day, maybe twice when I first got in. But for sure once. And then, like I said, they have workers that come around every 30 minutes and just talk to you, check in with you, that kind of stuff. I was put on a couple different meds, mostly for anxiety and to kind of, like, when I started feeling really anxious and scared, I would pop, I think it was called Seroquel, and that stuff was awesome. Because when I did start feeling the anxiety and, like, what's going to happen when I leave here, what's going to happen when I return home, I would take those pills and I just was able to come down to a place. And initially I was taking them quite a few times a day. Ended up, by the time I left, I might have been taking them once, twice. And for several months after, I think I took maybe one here and there. In fact, I still have some of the original prescription left. But anyway, I liked the fact that they send somebody around so often to talk to you, because when you're in there in a place like I was mentally, I found I really did need to talk to someone quite frequently because my moods were so up and down, my fears were so up and down. I wanted to be aggressive towards him. My kids came and visited me while I was in there. That was all that I really wanted to see. I didn't talk to him, didn't want to. In fact, I had signed paperwork to have him removed from any decisions about my life, to go into any of the doctor visits with me. I removed all that. I still have not changed that. So while I was in there, initially, for the first maybe 3 days, 4 days, when I would walk around or wheel around, I didn't walk, I wheel on my scooter, I would avoid all windows. And I found that weird because that's one of my favorite things to do, is to look out windows. And they had a lot of windows, and they were up high, so the scenery was pretty. Madison is pretty. But I avoided all the windows, and windows got me anxious. And I joined the craft room, did some crafts, I did some reading, talked to some of the people that weren't, way overboard crazy, but I liked my stay in there. I really feel like it helped me. And about the 4th day, the doctor started asking when I thought that I would be ready to go home. And I told him, well, at that point, I said, I'm not ready. It's not even in my mind. And I think that was like day 4. I still had not been able to look out a window or go near a window. On day 5, as I was scooting around on my walker, I rode past a window and I stopped. And I sat and I looked out the window and I looked at the people and I looked at the cars and I looked at the buildings and I thought, I think I'm ready. I'm ready. 1 more day or 2 more days and I think I'm ready to go home and face what I knew I had to face. So when I had my appointment with the doctor later that day, I told him, I said, I'm ready, but not today, but maybe 2 days, and I will be ready to go home. And so I continued on with my appointments. I never did not talk to anybody. I always talked to whoever came in. I did the work. As hard and ugly as it was. So when it was time to go home, my son came to get me. And as I was leaving, it was several floors up, and I had to take elevators and go down long halls. And mind you, I'm doing all this on my walker. I sit on my walker and I push with my legs. And I just remember looking out the windows thinking, I can do this. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. So anyway, I get home and dealt with what I had to deal with. I knew what was coming. I knew that we were going to have to move. I knew that there was a bankruptcy coming. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I didn't know where we were going to move or anything. There was a couple things I missed in my little story. But anyway, we had purchased a motorhome. The plan was, before I knew how bad everything was, that we were going to get out of the house and live in our motorhome and just travel. So we did have the motorhome. So what ended up happening is, after we had talked to my son and the decision was made of when we had to get out, I ended up taking the motorhome and parked it out by my son. He had an extra lot at that time. So I parked it out at the campground, which was like 15 minutes from our house. And I proceeded to stay in there. And I did not have anything to do with Greg during, I'd say, almost a full year after this. I didn't talk to him. It was, I would shut my doors. I wouldn't look at him. Didn't want nothing to do with him. I did start counseling again when I got out. In fact, I increased it. And I just did what I had to do. The time came for the house to be, for us to leave. We had a sale, went through that, sold everything. That was hard for me because, you have an estate sale normally after you pass. And I had not passed, and neither did he. And so that was the first time ever that we sold, like, everything. So it was hard for me to watch people picking through my stuff, negotiating, and I didn't handle that very well. So I let my kids and him handle that. I didn't really care at that point. I stayed out at the river bend. Well, I knew that I couldn't stay in that motorhome in the winter months and whatever. So we ended up selling that, and then our daughter financed a tiny home for us. We make the payments, and then that's where we've been for the last 4 years. So that's all working out well. It took me about 1.5 to 2 years to really be able to even have a civil discussion with him. I did file papers again for a divorce, but what ended up happening is the pandemic hit. Plandemic, that's how I feel, sorry. But that hit, and then somehow those papers were never followed up on, and I never followed up on. We are now 5 years into this, and we get along okay. I have my own little space in the park model Today we talk, we get along. I think I've had to learn to have a lot of grace this time, because as hard as this is for me, this was different. And I have to honor that for him. He didn't go about handling things the right way with this. But, when I got sick, he had a heart attack. He could not work. I think he was too afraid to tell any of us. He wasn't working. We found out later that he was sleeping. And, taking care of me, and then taking care of himself, not able to work. So that was part of where the pressure of the money came in. And so he was doing things he shouldn't have been doing. And he should have been honest with me, and he should have been honest especially with his son, who ended up making the house payment. He should have been honest and came clean with all of us, and he didn't. But I still have learned to give him some grace, because, he didn't do this because he was shopping or traveling or had a mistress or gambling or drugs. He did this to try to keep us afloat while we were both trying to live. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not excusing him in any way at all. I'm just trying to show a little bit of grace. I have put things into place since then, like my kids are in charge of my accounts. All my passwords were changed. The place that we're in is small enough payment that if he were to go off the deep end again, I can take it on my own. And it won't be easy, but I can do it. So I feel like I've put precautions in place that I should be okay. Okay, so I'm going to end at that. That's where I am today. Today I am okay. Our place is okay. We both enjoy it. We've been blessed and been able to go away for a couple winters. We take a pop-up when we go to Texas. It's a very old, one of the ugliest pop-up I've ever seen, but it gets us to Texas. So I've had some blessings, that's for sure. I want to end this on a positive note. I want to talk about the good things, and maybe these are the things that kept me with him. When we were young and married and I was pregnant, each time I was pregnant, every time, he went to every doctor appointment with me. I never went to a doctor appointment alone. He went to every one. He was at every delivery of our babies. Those things were important to me. He never complained about changing a diaper. He never complained about getting up in the middle of the night if I couldn't or if I was too tired. He never complained about taking over after he would work and come home. If I needed a break, he would do it. And there were many nights he would come home and I'd hop in my car and I'd go. And he would take care of all of them, however many there were at the time. But never made me feel bad. He always did that. If I wanted to go somewhere with friends, it was never an issue. His kids are his life. Those kids are his entire existence. He loves them with all his heart. It doesn't mean that, like I said, it doesn't excuse the things, because as my kids got older, some of the stuff he did impact them. But I remember not this all that many years ago, our daughter lived about 40 minutes away from us, and she called us that she was in the emergency room, and she's an adult, and she had a urinary tract infection. He got in the car and drove all the way there so she wouldn't have to sit in there alone. It's just stuff like that. Grandkids, always there for our grandchildren. Picks them up from school, babysit, watches them when they're ill, their dogs, whatever. Those are all things that I know a lot of my women friends, they didn't have that. And I did. Like I said, I never went to a doctor appointment alone. When I did get sick with cancer, he was at every appointment. When I would be waking up, and the first maybe 6 years I was pretty ill, and neither one of us got much sleep because of me. But, if I got up and I was ill, he would clean me up. He would clean the bed. Whatever I needed, he would get it. It didn't matter how tired he was. As far as caretaking me since I've been sick, which is now 12 years, I couldn't ask for a better caretaker. I'm never made to feel like I'm a burden or, like he's tired of it. And after 12 years, you kind of think you would be tired of it, but I don't ever get made to feel that way. So those are all things that I think are important in a relationship, because like I said, I know a lot of women friends from the cancer groups that I was on. Their husbands, their spouses I mean, they were cheating on him. They would leave. They were mean to them. They didn't take care of them. When they had accidents or whatever, they didn't clean them up. They didn't clean the bedding. It was so hard to watch that. And like I said, I was treated so well. So there were a lot of good things. And I think he had a lot of good things in his heart. There was just a lot of darkness there that he needs to still work on some. But those are probably the reasons that kept me. And also the fact that I have a large tolerance for pain, sadly. And I'm not excusing any of it. I don't know if I was a mentally healthy person, I don't think I would have stayed. I wouldn't recommend anyone to stay. In fact, if I would have, I really truly believe in my heart, if I had left him when I was younger, truly left him, I think it would have snapped him out of whatever he had going on, because I know he loved his family. He loved me and he loved his kids. So I think if I would have been firm and said, you're not coming back into this house until you have a normal job and you get some help for whatever's wrong with you, I think I would have had a good chance of him working his demons out. But I'll never know. So I don't like to waste my time on it. So that's where I'm at today. I do feel like I'm okay today, and I have my needs met. There's not anything I'm lacking for. Sometimes I do get frustrated with the lack of space, but then I also have to remind myself I can't take care of anything much bigger. I barely can take care of this little place. And that's for him too. He's not the same man since his heart attack, even though it's been 10 years for him. He cuts the grass and he's exhausted. So it would be really unfair for me to expect, like if I found a place that was in our price range, oh, we got to move because it's bigger. I don't feel like I could do that to him either, because his health has never been the same. So I think we're going to end up here. Stay here till each of us passes, whatever. Nursing home, I don't know. So that's where I'm at today. I feel like I'm okay. If you have any questions, please leave them. Remember that I'm doing this. I didn't do this to trash him. I did this to share that not all marriages are good marriages, and I don't consider my marriage a very good marriage. I consider it a hard marriage. And I'm hoping that I can help others with what I've been through, how I've come through it. And, people do change. They do have good, even when they have bad in them. And so that's my intent. My intent wasn't to trash him. So I think what I'm going to do next is, since my YouTube is called Candles and Cancer, I think I'm going to show you how I make candles. I'm going to show you all the candles that I have. I actually have to make a bunch of candles within the next few days. So I'm going to show you how I make my candles. And that should be fun. Should be interesting. But again, if you have any questions, please leave them. I hope you guys all have a great week. And please subscribe. Please share my videos. And I will see you next time.